Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Artist Mindset. For those of you who are new to the community, my name is Sonia Rodriguez. I have a feeling you know who I am because you're here. So thank you so much for being here. Just give me 1 second. I am making sure that all technology aspects are working. So I will get better at this. I will get better at this. Here we go. Amazing. Alrighty, so as I am getting ready to connect with my group on Facebook, I want to thank you guys for being a part of the community, for joining me, and I hope that this week this information is super informative. The intention of doing these is to help you out wherever you are, and to know that you have a place to come to where you can ask questions all of the time. And that's why these shows are weekly. So I just want to let you know, if you are catching this live right now, and I see that we have some people on. Last week, since it was the first time I was doing this, I didn't see how I could see who was joining me. So I didn't take advantage of the opportunity to ask questions because I couldn't see who was on. But now I understand what's going on a little bit more. So please know that for those of you who are live now, I have a few questions from some creatives that have submitted questions prior to this live today. But if you have any questions as we move forward, feel free to post them in the chat, and I'm going to be addressing them as we move forward. So thank you guys for being here. I'm so excited. I mean, I want to just thank everybody who's joined the Beauty Mastermind Facebook group. I hope that you've been enjoying it. And also, as we're getting ready to go into the fall months, the whole point of this group is just so we're constantly in communication, inspiring each other, giving each other ideas of things to do. And because you're a member of the Facebook group, you're getting this information first, always. That's the intention. So thank you so much for being here. Okay, so today what we're talking about is we're talking about rates. This is a conversation that I get over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and it's how do I know how much to charge and all of that good stuff. So basically, it really depends. You know what, guys? Give me 1 second because I see someone who's trying to join this community now, and I want to make sure that if she wants to be in this call, on this live, that she can watch it. So thank you so much for your patience. I just, I can't have someone sitting there who wants to learn and is not joining us. Okay. So, so I see Carrie Roberts. Hey, Carrie, thank you so much. I have your question here. You're definitely one of the questions I'm going to address, and I'm open to addressing any future questions that come up. And I also see that Rain O'Brien is here. Thank you so much. And whoever's on, please take a second and share, comment, tell me who you are, tell me where you're from. Give me a shout out and give the community a shout out. So thank you so much for being here. So like I said before, we're going to be talking about rates. It's just a question that I get all of the time. How do I know how much to charge? And I also have trouble because if I raise my rates, people aren't saying yes and all of that. So there is a lot to say around this topic. And I literally have built a coaching practice where I answer this question time and time again. So know that this is a conversation that, you should be exploring consistently and regularly, because there is no one way to do anything. So what I really like to share with my clients and inspire them to do is to learn how to be discerning so they can choose what's best for them, because what may work for someone else may not work for you. And also something that may have worked for you in the past may no longer work. You may change. You may decide that you want something else. I know that that's definitely happened to me. So I'm going to share with you just some information around how you can start to decide what kind of rates you want to have. And hopefully this will help you also assess, are you happy where you are now? Because things may be working, and if it's working and if you're happy with it, then keep doing it. Okay, so I always believe in, with anything, any decision within my business, that it always starts with me. We talked last week about taking accountability, not taking things personally, all of that. And then and it sounds good in theory. I know that it's one of those things. It's like, it sounds good, but when it's time to actually implement those things, sometimes it gets lost in translation, or it's very easy to point the finger and expect the other to be taking responsibility and not to take responsibility for ourselves. So when I mean personal inventory is I ask myself, whatever I am putting together an offer, whenever I decide to create something new or to offer something new for my business, or if I'm going to offer something that I've been offering for a while, I always take a second to take a personal inventory first. And I have certain questions that I ask myself. So the first one is, who am I as a buyer? And what that means is that you may or may not know that one of the things I specialize in is high-level sales. And the reason why I specialize in high-level sales, and I like coaching programs and things like that that are high ticket and high-level sales, is because I have found that my growth, my experience has been the best when I am in those types of situations, when I've made those investments. So because that has really been impactful for me, that is how I have chosen to grow the Beauty Mastermind. So that being said, with these like high level programs and things that I have, it's not for everybody. And I also knew that, to work with someone at such a high level, I couldn't do it with many people. It would just have to be with a select few. So I needed other options, other things where I could connect with my audience, continue to offer them different products and services at different price points. So the first thing that I asked myself was, who am I as a buyer? Because basically you can only attract what you are. So if I'm looking for high-level clients and I want to I want my business to be based on that type of business model, then I myself had to become that. So please comment in the chat box. Let me know if you're with me so far, because this is really, really important for you to know, for you to understand this, because this is not just about the strategy of just like raise your price. Like there's so much more going on here, and it really has to do with, your vibration, your frequency, the level of attraction that you have to be able to attract what it is that you want. So it always starts with you first. So when I ask myself, who am I as a buyer? If I'm looking for high-level clients and, I want to have a business where I'm offering, high-ticket programs and investments, am I also that buyer? So that means, am I also doing what I'm asking my clients to do, which is if I'm making high-level investments, then it will be much easier for me to relate with those who I'm looking to bring into my business. Does that make sense? Really, really important. Let me just refresh this as well. Just want to make sure that, I was not seeing all of these comments. Okay. So let me just backtrack a little bit. Corianne Cowan is on, and I know that she also submitted a question. We're going to be covering it today. Carisia. And then Corianne is on as well. Hi. Sabina, hey, one of the trailblazers is here. Rain O'Brien, hey there, everyone. She says, I'm Rain or April, and I'm from DC. Thank you so much for being on. Nicole Gore is on from Virginia. Estella Witt, hey, everybody from Philly. Oh, my God, what a nice, warm reception. This is the power of community. It's just nice to meet other people who are here for the same reason. Melanie Barner, hi, I'm Melanie from Maryland. Hey, Melanie. Rain O'Brien says, I'm listening and understanding. I'm so happy that you're saying that. Corianne says it's making sense. B says hello. Shauna Renee says hello from Baltimore. Really nice. Lots of people from the DMV area. And I'm happy that this is making sense, because this really, really starts with, taking that personal inventory. And I can tell you, you guys, if you have been following, my track record, how my business has been growing, or any of my clients, I can tell you that why I feel like the results that we've gotten are so different and they feel so unique in the beauty space is because we're always starting with taking that personal inventory first. We are never asking our clients to do anything we haven't done ourselves. It just doesn't make sense. I'll give you an example. And if this makes sense to you, I want you to write in the chat box, this totally makes sense. Okay, so if you are asking a client to invest in your services, let's pick a number that feels really, really outrageous. I don't know, $10,000. If you are dreaming, like I'm someone who I have worked with, bridal clients who have invested in my services at the $10,000 level. I have offered, different coaching packages at that level. But years ago, when I first started doing all of this, there was no way in like that number of 10,000 felt crazy to me. Is there anyone on this chat right now who would say, Sonia, that number sounds crazy? Like, how could I ever? How would anyone ever pay $10,000 to work with me? I don't get it. So comment below if you're like, I really don't get it. And this is why. Years ago, there was no way that I could have even had that conversation with anyone and put it out there, saying, hey, the investment to work with me is 10 grand, because I myself had never done it. That number felt so far away, so big, that even if I would have said it, if I would have had the guts to actually, say the words to someone, like all my fear, all of my stuff would have come up because I have no relationship with that number. Like 10,000 felt like $1 million to me. So Carrie Roberts says, yep, I feel like she's getting it. So the point is this: if you become what you want from your buyers, if you embody it, if you become the thing, you will naturally attract people at that vibration and frequency. Carissa says yes. Immediate fear. And it's so true, because that's literally how I felt. So what happened with me was let me tell you this, the first bridal client that ever paid me for my services invested in my services at $85 for my bridal makeup. So that was when I first started. And of course, through the years and with all my training, I got better at my craft and I really mastered it. When I had my bridal business in New Jersey, I was absolutely on the high end of pricing in the area. Like I definitely was priced well above, others. And, when I was at the $500 level or the $1,000 level, like I really was nowhere near, most of my competitors. Let me just do the quotes a little so you can see them. But then what happened from when I got to 500 or 1,000 to 10,000, because my next leap from 1,000 was 4,000. And then my next leap from 4,000 to 10,000, those 3 leaps happened in less than a year. So nothing changed in my artistry so dramatically that I became this completely different artist. What changed was who I was becoming. So what that same year that I had those massive leaps, that happened when I started investing in myself. And this is not, I just want to be clear with you guys too. This is not me, like you can talk to me whenever, whether I'm, coaching or not. And I can tell you that I'm super honest. You can talk to any of my friends or my family. Like I am so really passionate about coaching because it really stretched me and made me open myself up to things that I could never see for myself before. So I want to say that, and I'm using this example because I was the example, but I want you to know that I'm not here. I'm not saying to you, hey, this is not a pitch for my coaching program or anything like that. That's not the point. The point is that the first time that I made an investment, the first investment I ever made was actually into a coaching program that was like 18, 19 grand. And I was terrified. And then after that, the next program was, I believe, 6,000. And then the next one after that was like 40K. So, and those all happened within a year. And those are just coaching programs in business. I won't even tell you about like the retreats, my spiritual retreats, my energy healing, things like that. that I've committed to and invested in at the $10,000 level. So what happens now when you talk to me now and you say 10 grand, I'm like, okay, that number doesn't have the weight that it had like 2 years ago, because I've been so stretched and I've done it. I have invested, at the $10,000 level and much higher. So like now that number is super comfortable for me. So the conversation that I'm having with my clients or any potential clients when I pitch something at that level is much more congruent because I myself have walked that path. So type in the chat box and let me know if you understand this really, really, really important point, because this is not just about raising your rates. It's understanding, even if you have raised your rates, why it may not have worked in the past. B. Gandhi says, it makes so much sense. Jacora Monique, hey Jacora, how are you? Thanks to you, I booked my first bride at 1,400. Oh my God, that's amazing. That is so, so, so amazing. That makes me really happy because it's so true. Now I can say that Jacora is a perfect example. I'm not familiar with every investment that she's ever made in herself, but I also know she invested and got herself on a plane and got herself to New York to take part of one of my trainings, because she's understanding that, the name of the game is when you grow yourself and you invest in yourself, what happens is you become a different person. You shift into a different state. Now, when you show up for that conversation with others, that sales conversation, it is congruent. It is congruent. And I do want to just say this because I believe that Carissa, this was part of her question, which is, how do I not come off sounding salesy? Part of the main way that you don't come off sounding salesy is when you embody it, because it's just your truth. I have zero problem, putting together an offer and communicating that offer with someone at a $10,000 level, because it's totally authentic to me. You guys are amazing. Everyone is super smart here. Rain is saying, I understand. Corianne completely understands. Carissa, I understand. Hey, Nadi, how are you? Another member of the Beauty Mastermind. Carrie Roberts says, an aha. Very good. So listen, this is one of the reasons I wanted to do these lives weekly, is because I'm not the only one out here talking about business in beauty. There's so many great resources out there, and you have to find the one that really resonates with you. But I can tell you that it feels to me that at this time, what's different about, what I'm sharing is really coming from that place of everything happens from you first. It feels very irresponsible for me to say, hey, do this, like change your rate this way or do this, without starting with this understanding, this mindset first. Your thoughts become things. So if you think, wow, this sounds really expensive, or wow, I've never done this, this is really scary, the manifestation is it's showing up in your business. Clients, even if they don't get it, they are tapped into your energy, and vice versa. So the more that you do this, the more that you are in line with what you're looking to get, the more you're opening up the vibration for it to actually come. So I say this to you because I would say this to anyone, and I say this to myself all the time. What are you doing now, or what can I do now to start to embody what it is that I want in my clients, so that actually manifests? Because you're not creating anything, you're not making anything happen. Everything that you want already exists. What you're doing is you're shifting your state to be in the same vibration so that can appear in your reality. Does that make sense? So literally, for you to have what you want, you have to be it. You have to be it. And it goes back to, you're not going to be able to see things. The old saying of, I'll see it when I believe it. It's like, I'll believe it when I see it. But the truth is, it's like, I'll see it when I believe it. That's the truth. You have to believe it first. So, okay. That was a huge rant. And that was just, I have all these notes. And that's just point number one. Okay. So main question. And if you have a notepad with you, like, this is definitely the question you should be writing down, is, who am I as a buyer? Ask yourself, have I been making the investments to better myself, to grow myself? And that absolutely includes, investments in your artistry, because you want to be the best at what you do. But also am I making the investments to grow myself as a business person, to grow myself as an actual business, and to grow myself as the best version of myself, of who I truly am? Those things all really, really matter. They have made the difference for me. Like, I am a completely different person than I was 2.5 years ago. I'm a different person than I was even like 3 months ago, to be honest, just with learning more about this stuff. And now my accountability is so different, because when things aren't aligned, I don't pitch it. I don't offer it to someone, you know? So it's really, really important to know that everything starts from you. Okay. So I want to get to a little bit of what the difference is between selling value and price. Before I get there, just give me one quick, just shout out in the comments and say, cool, totally get it. You know, I'm going to start implementing this information today. I'm going to start thinking about, you know, how I can continue to grow myself. And I'm going to be who it is that I'm looking to attract. So if you agree with that, just give me a shout out in the comments and say, yep, Frankia, I hope I'm saying it right. Frankia Parker says, get it. Just say, yes, I'm in. Awesome. Okay. So as I'm waiting for all of these yeses, let me share with you a little bit about selling value as opposed to selling price. So now that you've taken the time to say, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is not what I'm doing. Hey, Ayana says yes. B. Gandhi says yes. Rain says, we'll start implementing this information today. Oh my God, you win the prize already. Frankia says, yes, that's right. Amazing. Caricia Walton says, I'm going to be the client I want. Perfect. Estella Witt says, yep. Carrie Roberts says, yep. Ayana says, hey, Sonia, hi. I'm so happy that you're here. Okay. Really, really cool. Okay. So you're probably wondering, what's the difference between selling value and price? Because I've been, teasing that for a little bit. So, I'm going to share with you some of those components. So selling price, what that looks like is typically when you are building your business based on attracting quantity over quality. So that means as many clients as possible. Okay. My business is successful. I am growing. The more clients I have, the more that I work. So if anyone can relate to that, and that is the business model that you have right now, or that's how you've been growing your business, or that's the mindset that you've had, type in the chat box. Also let me know, like, hey, this is what I've been doing. So that's what selling price looks like. It also looks like trading time for dollars. The more that I work, the more hours I work, the more money I make. So this is really important for you to understand that, because basically that is, if you're familiar with Robert Kiyosaki, he's got all these amazing books. And in several of them, he talks about the different quadrants, and that definitely is more of, it falls under the quadrant of being the employee. So B. Gandhi says, not anymore, change my mindset. So good. So I want to say this, selling price is not a bad thing. There's no good or bad. I'm just pointing out what it looks like so you understand what kind of business you have. So if right now, your hustle, your name of the game is, let me try and get as many clients as I can, and let me work as often as possible, then you most likely are in the business of selling price, okay? Because that's the way that you grow. So the other type of business is a business where you sell value. Oh, amazing. Carrie Roberts says, learned the concept of selling value about 6 months ago. Great. That's really, really good. So what selling value is, when you are choosing to attract quality over quantity. So I will share with you that that's the way that my business is built. There are so many times, it doesn't matter. Like, I am a sales coach. That is one of the things that I specialize in. And I will tell you that I still hear no all of the time. It doesn't matter, because what I'm putting out there, it's not for everybody. And I'm intentionally putting it out because it won't be for everybody. I don't want everybody, because if you're talking to everybody, you're honestly talking to nobody. I'm looking for those high-level clients, those quality ones. So I have to be very specific about not only the information I'm putting out, how you communicate with me, but also the investment is a big part of it, because if I make it too cheap, I'm going to be attracting an audience where it is based on, quantity and not quality, but I really want quality. I want a select few. I don't want to work as hard for many people. I want to work, and I want to work really hard for the clients that I have. So I knew from the beginning that for me, what I really wanted is I wanted a select few that I could work with intimately at a time, and then, still speak to a larger platform, but do that in a different way. Frankia says, sigh, yes, selling price. Yeah. So it's now the question for you, Frankia, is now that you're aware of that, the next, and the whole point of this is not never for judgment, but it's just like, okay, well, is that still what I want? Does this still feel good? Is this what I'm in line with? And then just to finish with selling value. So not only is it attracting quality over quantity, it's also attracting clients who value results instead of time. So I'll give you a perfect example. Because I've experienced it. I've done it myself, and I've also experienced it as a makeup artist and a coach. I've definitely had experiences with clients being in my makeup chair, and let's say the appointment was an hour, 90 minutes, and for some reason I got it done that day in 45 minutes because I really understood the look or whatever. I found that in the past, I've had clients who felt shortchanged because the full amount of time allotted was not used, even though the desired result was accomplished. So that's definitely happened in the makeup chair. I've also been on calls with coaching clients where, whatever the challenge was, whatever the thing was that they were looking for, they got the aha, they got the action steps, and we did it in a record amount of time. And then, then it was like, but I have all this extra time. So that happens, I notice more when I'm selling based on price. When I sell based on value, what I see is that clients appreciate their time. So if they got the information, if they got the makeup done, if they got whatever, and they got it in a record time, they're happy for it. And also, if it required more time, because I've been on coaching calls, however long they take is how long they take. And also, I'm happy to show up and be there fully until the task is done. So basically, what I found with selling value is that clients appreciate the result and not necessarily how much time it took for them to get there. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, please also, comment in the chat. Let me know, because I know that sometimes I can get very wordy, and I want to make sure that's a really, really important point. So the reason that I switched over to value as opposed to price was because I really wanted clients, who understood that, who really understood that it doesn't matter how long something takes. It's about getting the result that you wanted no matter what. So B. Gandy says it makes sense. You're so smart, B. Gandy. You really are. I gotta tell you. Okay, so those are the two types of ways to sell: value and price. So now that you know both, you can start to make the decision of, well, first of all, assess what kind of business do I have right now? Am I selling based on price, or am I selling based on value? And then is that the business that I want to continue to grow? So for me, I had a business based on price for like 12, 13 years. And I'll be honest with you, for more than a decade, I was very happy to have, I didn't know it at the time that that's what it was, but I was very happy to have that business because I loved being a makeup artist, and working all of the time was truly my joy. It really was. And it worked. I loved it. A few years ago, why it stopped working was because I changed. My priorities changed. I had been working like every single weekend, giving all of my free time, pretty much my entire adult life, that I was ready to start having a more balanced life. Like I wanted vacations. I just wanted more than feeling like I was always going to be at work. I was tired of missing family functions or showing up late, being tired all the time. So something changed for me. And that's why starting to sell value felt more important to me. So both of them have been successful for me. So before, when I was selling price, that was successful because what I defined as success was I wanted to work a lot. And by the way, because I had so many clients, I became so good at my craft because I was just constantly practicing. So if this is resonating, type in the chat box and say, I get it. You get to choose. So then I made a different choice because, I felt like, you know what, I'm cool. I get it. I've practiced this enough. I've really put in like over my 1,000 hours. I know that I've mastered this. So I switched over to value, because what happens is, you guys, when you start talking about value, like, you just have to know, and it can be scary in the beginning. Sabina, Chanel, hi Chanel, and Ayana, they all get it. Really cool. You have to know that when you start transitioning to value, that it's not like, you're going to be working all the time. In fact, it's going to be less, because there are more people out there shopping just based on the price being good than there are people shopping based on value. However, the trade-off with it is less clients, but more high ticket, more relationships that are deeper, more connection, more. I feel so valued within my business and within my clients. And it truly feels to me like every single day, it never feels like work to me. I'm always just having fun. I'm enjoying the people that I'm with. I feel respected. Our relationships are, really built on something solid. And the connection is much more intimate. I know so much about my clients and their lives. And that mattered to me. That's what I wanted. I wanted clients like that. I wanted relationships like that, something that mattered, not people that I just would see once and then never again. But I understood, I understood that meant that my phone was going to ring a little less. So if you are making the choice, or you're starting to think about exploring the possibility of having a business based on value, like, just know that, you've been hearing no anyway, because that's why you're here. You've been hearing no anyway. The hearing the no's does not change. That won't change. But what this will do by selling value is it will become its own filtration system. If you're tired of communicating with clients who are a tough time, who really don't make the experience fun, if you're tired of signing up for bookings where you are committing to doing something where you don't feel valued, like when you're tired of devaluing yourself, then having a business based on value, I got to tell you, I feel like it's the way to go. But with that being said, it's understanding that not everyone's going to come along for the ride. So please also take a second to write in the comment box and say, I understand that too, because that's really important. And just going back to what we talked about last week, about not taking things personally, you have to understand, like, well, you could take things personally, but it's going to be very painful, because when people say no to you, it really has nothing to do with you. And when people say yes to you, it also has nothing to do with you. It is always, always, always about them. Frankia says, I understand that too. Great. Ayana says, preach. You're hilarious. So I want to share with you some of the results of what it looks like to sell value, as well as some of the results, what you can expect when you sell price. But I just want to get a feel of those who are here live, like, what kind of business, just with this, what kind of business do you think you want to move forward with? If you have, a business where you're selling price and that's working great, can you please share that? Or also, if you have a business selling value and that's working great, please share that too. If you have one of those two and you feel like the other would work better, can you share that too? I just would like to know, what's really going on for you. And let's see how, as a group, like, where most of us, how we've been working, because I think we can help each other here, to just make the decision of what's next, with more intention. So please take a second to write in the chat box and share, what kind of business do you have, and are you happy with it, or are you looking to make a transition? Okay. So as I'm waiting for those responses, I'm going to share with you what you can expect when you are selling price. So when you are selling price, and I think you guys will relate to this. So when you're selling price, one of the things that you can expect is bidding between competitors. So what that looks like is you get a phone call, someone says, how much is it? And you say it's X. And then they say, but so-and-so or everyone else is $20 cheaper than you, $50 cheaper than you, $100 cheaper than you, can you match it? Or why are you so expensive? And then I've done this in the past, many years ago. You might have done it too, and it's okay if you have. You might get into the actual bidding war of like, okay, well then I can match that. All right, I'll do it for that price. And if you've ever done that, please also share that in the chat. So Chanel Hines says, I would like to transition to value. Carrie Roberts says, trying to do value, frustrated, I don't have more clients. Okay, but Carrie, let's be really conscious. First of all, be conscious of your words. Trying is its own state, okay? So you either are selling value or not. So trying will keep you in the state of trying. It's just making a definitive decision. But I do also want to say to you, you're saying that you're frustrated that you don't have more clients. Selling value doesn't guarantee you more clients. It doesn't. But it does guarantee more higher quality clients, for sure. Ayana Von Hendrick says, I want value. Carissa says, I want a value business. I always thought in terms of more clients, the better. Yeah, so like, that's a huge awareness. Like, I didn't know that either. And when I learned that, I was like, oh, yeah, I want more value too. Because I was ready to have a life. And if you're anything like me, like I was in love with being a makeup artist. I truly love what I do. So I was having fun, but then I just got tired and I was ready for more. Raleigh, hi Raleigh. I also have your question here. We're going to be talking about it a little bit later. Raleigh says, I'm a makeup artist, works retail for over 10 years, stepped away to have a family, and I miss it and I want to go back, but want to transition for value for sure. Yeah. So like, and it depends, because if you decide that you want to go back to retail, that's definitely going to be, that's more an employee type situation, right? Because it's an hourly, and there might be some commission with it. So that's a very different model than, and it's not to say that you can't offer value to someone even that way. However, that one is definitely more based on price, if that makes sense. Carrie Roberts says, true. Need that mind shift. And Raleigh is just sharing that she wants to be self-employed. Yes. So so then you can have the choice of which one you'd like to do. So okay, cool. So another common result of selling price is the devaluing of products and services. And I shared a little bit about that in the example that I just gave of, someone calling you and then saying, well, so-and-so charges this much, can you match it? Or can you give me a better price? So what happens there is that everyone is devaluing the service, everyone, because that means that potential client, and I have to tell you, as a beauty industry, I think we've done it to ourselves, because everybody, well, let me not say everybody, but the trend for years has been to just undercut someone else's service, like, and not specifically a person, but just saying, sure, well, I'll do it for this amount, so it's a better deal. So what happened is that we have conditioned, and this is just my belief, we've conditioned our clients to not value what we do because we made it cheaper. So what I mean by that is, let me just give you a perfect example. You go to Barney's and you want to buy a pair of shoes, and let's say the pair of shoes is $600. If you were to go to the person working at Barney's and say, but so-and-so has a pair of shoes and I can buy them there for $200. Barney's is going to say, okay, go over there, because this is what the investment is. They're not in the bargaining game. So because we have been, as a collective, what happens is we have been slowly diminishing the value of our services. And unfortunately, now we're at the state of frustration because we don't feel value, but we didn't value it. That really is, and it goes back to the accountability. That's truly my belief. So that means that this is the perfect opportunity to start training, the industry again, to start valuing what we do, because what we do is really important. So that means also be willing to stand firm in your value. And if someone says, hey, can you do it for cheaper, and this and that, saying, I really appreciate that, thank you so much. However, you know, this is the investment for this particular thing. Like standing firm in your value. And that's another really, really important part of sales and understanding pricing. It is understanding and aligning yourself with the perspective that it really doesn't matter if someone says yes or no. It is, what are you putting out there? And that's, you know, something that I'm very passionate about. I'm very, I truly live it within my business. I don't change my price for anybody. I don't change it. That's what it is. And if they can't meet me there, I completely understand. It might be a different offer. I might refer them to someone else, but it's not a fit. So think of yourself as that, as Barney's, you know, think of yourself as that. Like, you know, is it worth it to discount your services? I say no. Okay, let me check in and see what you guys are saying. B. Gandy says, I'd say that I'm in that transitional phase, making a conscious choice of the decisions I make, and totally not taking the no personally. Since then, the brides that I've been working with have been amazing. Great energy, so appreciative and accommodating. Yes, the no's are good too, because here's the thing. When someone says no, it is such a blessing, because there's nothing less fun than entering into some kind of relationship or agreement where no one feels valued. And the whole circumstance and situation, I mean, it kind of is almost like you can tell that it's not going to go well. So when someone says no, thank them for it, because they're letting you know they're not ready for it. So is it worth it to go through the hassle? I say not. You know, I personally say I've gone through it enough. I put myself through enough of those situations where now I say, you know what? Thank you. Thank you for saying no. I appreciate it. B. Gandy says, I just want to take it to the next level. Yeah. So you keep standing firm in what you're already doing. And you keep finding more ways to offer value. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for that share, B. That was really, really good. Okay. So then another result of selling price is clients that are not loyal. So what I mean by that is when you're selling price, you're targeting people that are shopping based on price. So guess what? If this time the price is right, they're going to say yes. But if next time the price is not right, they're going to go to someone else. They're always going to be shopping for price. So even with that, do you see it has nothing to do with you? It is literally what is the best number. That's really, really important. Please type in the chat box and say, I get that. It is never about you. If you are selling price, understand that your buyers are shopping price. They're just looking at the numbers. Okay? So again, taking that personal inventory, what am I putting out there? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what it looks like to sell value. So with value, it's a bit different. One of the biggest things that I've recognized about this is, and thank you, Carissa says, yes, that's the truth. It's totally the truth. So this, you know, again, just to get back on my soapbox, it goes back to, you know, taking accountability, because it really feels incongruent to me to say, oh my God, she had the nerve to ask me to lower my prices, or to be offended with someone when they say no. If I'm, you know, creating a business based on price, like it's never about me. They're shopping for price. Okay. I promise I'll stop. Okay. So results of selling value. One of the results that I've seen is, setting your prices not based on what others are doing. So I can tell you that as a business coach in the beauty space, I have no idea what other coaches are asking for in terms of an investment. And I have no idea how they offer their programs. Like that has nothing to do with me. And I can also at that same time, in that same sentiment, say that I think that everything that all these other coaches offer has a ton of value. And we all have different things to say. And we all contribute to the beauty space differently. And our voices all matter. So as the actual creative, you're the hairstylist, the makeup artist, the nail technician, the photographer, your individual, your unique voice is really important, because no one, and I know it can sound corny and cliche, but no one can do it how you do it. No one has your hand. No one has your vision. No, like it could be close. You know, it could have a similar aesthetic to someone, but it's never truly you. So understand that your hand, your vision, the way that you do things is very unique to you. So with that being said, because I was conscious of that, one of the first things I did was I stopped following a bunch of people on social media, and not because I didn't have love or support for them. It was just that I needed to just have focus in what I was doing. And the more that I was looking at what others were doing, I was playing the comparison game, which was not good for my self-esteem. And then the other one was I was getting confused with what it was that I wanted to do and what I wanted to say. So I took the time to really just look at my social media and just turn some things off, because I needed time to think and figure out how I wanted to move forward. So when I put together any of my offers, and I still do it now, like I don't look at what anyone is doing. What I do is I create the thing that I want to do that's exciting to me. And then I usually will bounce it off, my coaches and mentors, because I like to get a feel, like I respect their input so much. And they know me, and they know my heart and what I want to do. So like that information for me is valuable as someone who gets what I'm doing here and can offer assistance with that. But I, usually when it comes to pricing and things like that, I choose all of those things because it feels good. I'm in alignment with it. And also it's because I've embodied it, because I've done it myself. So does that part make sense? What it really looks like to set your prices not based on what anyone else is doing. So if anybody has been doing that, it's okay. You're not the only one. Can you comment in the chat box and, share? Has it been helpful to follow others? Is it, has it been helpful to compare? What has your experience been playing the comparison game? Another result of selling value is, this is a really good one. Teaching clients how to invest with you. So one of the things that I've learned now that I sell value is that, the way that I communicate with my clients, the experience that they have within it, like even the way that they have access to me, things like that, like they're very specific channels and they know what to expect from it. And it's because I've set up clear boundaries so that, when they sign up for an investment, they understand like, hey, for these are the deliverables for here. And they also, it would be incongruent for me to all of a sudden sell the same thing, 1 month at a certain investment, and then like 2 months later sell the same thing at half the investment. Like it doesn't make sense. So basically clients understand that when they're coming to me, yes, the ticket is usually more high level. However, there's a lot of value. Like whatever the ticket, let's say if the ticket price is $1,000, usually the value for me minimally has to be like 5,000. I'm over delivering. And that's what it also looks like to add value. You give more than what they're paying for. So that's that should really be like a light bulb moment. And please type in the chat box and say, I get that. So if you're choosing that the investment to work with you, let's say it's $300, I highly suggest that offer should feel and it should look like the value is truly like $1,000, just so people feel like, oh my God, I mean, it totally makes sense. Why wouldn't I do this? There's so much here. Okay, cool. Let me just refresh this again and make sure that I'm with you guys. Okay, cool. And then the last result that I've noticed from selling value is attracting clients who are seeking quality. So my conversations have changed very dramatically from when I first started having sales conversations, when I first started the Beauty Mastermind. I'm finding that more of the artists that are finding me are already understanding that, that my business is based on value. Whether they have those words in their vocabulary or not, they are open, to having a conversation about a more high level investment, because the way that I have positioned myself is like, you just know that. You just know it, right? You don't engage in a conversation unless you know that you are open for it. So I've made it very clear that, yes, I have some offers and different things that are lower level, and those are like my master classes and things like that. However, if you want high level coaching, it's much, much different. And they understand that. So I don't find myself having conversations with anyone that really doesn't understand that, because they wouldn't be there for that conversation. to begin with, if that was the case. Raleigh says, that is good. I get it. Okay, very good. Yeah. And Bigendi says, yes, that makes so much sense. Really good. Because these nuggets, you guys, like, this is just awareness. Because this is not necessarily strategy. This is just awareness. And as I continue to do this live show, you will be getting some more strategy. But right now, it's like, you can't, like, if you are always working on solving the symptom and not the actual cause of the, like, let's say the ailment, it's like if you have a fever, right? And then with one of the fevers, let's say you get like a heat rash or something. I don't know. You could treat the heat rash, or you can treat the actual fever, because the fever is the thing that's causing the heat rash. So that's what awareness is. It's like, okay, I could spend my time dealing with that heat rash, but I want to go to the source. So that's why, I'm very strategic about how I share information. Right now, you have to know, what the source is of the challenge that you're having. And my belief is that the source is always us, always. Because the truth of the matter is, we've just been sloppy with our manifesting. You're manifesting all of the time. You're just manifesting the things that you don't want. So the more that you understand that, you get to make a choice of, what do I do want to manifest? So what will I put out there? What's the state I want to be in to attract that reality that I truly want? Okay, so you understand the difference between price and value, I hope. And I'm going to open it up for Q&A right now. I have 3 questions that were submitted prior to this live that I definitely want to cover. But also feel free, if you have any particular questions about this topic in relation to your business, this is the perfect time to put it into the chat box. So my first question is from Carissa, who's on this live today. So her question is, how do I know what my value is? And it was such a good question, because I could understand how, when you're just like, okay, well, I get it. It's 2 different things, but now how do I know that what I do is valuable? Okay. So the first important thing to know is that you yourself are valuable. And, for everyone, the value is going to be different, because it really is so tied into your unique gifts. But what I am going to share with you is, I'm going to give you the example of how I have added value, how I used to add it in my bridal business. So as a makeup artist, and I say this with lots of confidence, I know that I'm a very skilled makeup artist. I know what I bring to the table with that. But I also know that there's so many other artists out there who are great at what they do. And it really, makeup and our artistry is so subjective. Everyone's going to feel about it differently. So not only is that important, which is, keep doing the thing that you love and keep growing your skills with it. But what else is it that I do? What else do I bring to the party? So what I noticed with my bridal business was, I had started creating schedules, like for the wedding day, for like what the hair schedule would be, the makeup schedule would be, because I noticed that it would always happen that, like, if it was a big bridal party, everyone's getting their hair and their makeup done. And then, like, at the end, there would always be one bridesmaid who didn't have anything done. And now everybody's rushing to get her ready. Like, there were so many things like that I noticed that were making these wedding parties late for the actual wedding. So it was so frustrating to me, because I like to be on a time schedule. So I started creating a makeup schedule. And then what happened was, I would send it to the bride, and that was in the beginning part, and then she would forward it to the hair people. So they basically, the hair people would either create a schedule around mine or not do one at all, but I always had one. So I added value, because one thing that I always guaranteed, and one thing that always happened with my brides, were they were never late. Everyone was always taken care of. And I was always very strategic about who went in what order. So for example, I never made the bride go last, because if anyone's going to be late, it shouldn't be the bride. But I also never made her go first, right? Because it's a long day. So who would go first? Maybe like bridal party, So it was really just understanding how the flow of the day, and what would help the day just flow a bit easier. And the more that I was just paying attention to that, and I was able to add value, because, typically brides have never gone through an experience like this, or if they have, they've only gone through it maybe once or maybe twice. So, being able to bring added value like that helps add value to the experience with you, because then what would my client say? Oh my God, the makeup was great. It was so awesome. And she creates a schedule for you. Like, it's totally done for you. So does that make sense, Carissa? As that was one way that I added value. So for you, it might be different. You may not be a coordinator, but you might do something really well. Or you may have relationships with, if you're a makeup artist, you may have relationships with the hairstylist. You may offer to bring in a team. There's just, the sky is the limit for it. But what I can say is that the added value is, think of what are the things that you do great, that make someone else's life easier. I am an organization junkie. So creating schedules, and I had also for years been a receptionist at a hair salon. So I knew how to create schedules. So by the end of my bridal business, I was creating schedules for myself, for my team. I would bring in other hair people. I would create schedules for everybody. I would confirm with the team. I would put together vision boards for everybody, so everybody knew what was going on. So that was a ton of value. So if you're still on, Carissa, and everybody else who's on, please type in the chat box and say, this makes sense, because this is what adding value looks like. That is a specific example with me. So know that the way that you add value might look different, but please, comment and let me know that you understand that, because that is how people start to think like, oh my God, it's just amazing working with it, because they're just getting so much more than just the application. Okay. So the next question that I have comes from Raleigh, who's also on today. And Raleigh asked, how do I quantify value when determining prices? How do I explain my prices? How do I explain why my prices are higher than the local market? So the first part of the question is, how do I quantify value? So that's very simple. So basically, when I offer something to someone, the first thing that I do is I create the offer, and I sit there and I figure out, okay, so if I'm creating an offer where they get a consultation and the bridal makeup and, maybe like a third makeup application or something and whatever, I sit down and I actually do the math. What is the value of each one? Okay. So let's say if your services right now are $250 and you put together an offer like that, that's basically the how much is your trial? How much is the wedding day? How much is that third service? I add things like check-in calls, like when I work with brides at like the $10,000 level, I want them taken care of. So I'm adding all those things, and each one has a value to it. Like, how much is that time worth with you? So that's how you start to quantify it, because there should be a number so you understand what it is. Because if I know that offer is $750, but I want to create something that at the $1,000 level, what else needs to happen for that to feel like the $1,000 investment is going to be good? I know that those three things isn't enough. So what else needs to happen? So I may add my coordination fees in there. My coordination services, things like that. That alone, that's absolutely valuable. Absolutely. If I'm putting together a team, that's super valuable too. Those are all things that someone doesn't have to do. So how much is that saving them? How much is that helping them? Raleigh says, makes sense. The wheels are turning. So, okay, good. I'm glad you're getting that, because this was your question. And Shauna says, this makes sense. Good. I'm glad you guys that the wheels are spinning. This is really important. So the second part of Raleigh's question was, how do I explain why my prices are higher than the local market? So that's, first of all, let me say that I think the first thing, and I said it before, but I think the first thing is to just have confidence and know that the right client will come to you, and that there will be some that will say no, and that's okay. So if you're having a back and forth exchange with someone, and it literally is just this feeling of like, why, like if you can't answer the question as to why your services are worth what they are, then I would say to you, please re-examine the offer. One thing I can say to you is that when I offer anything, I mentioned before, If I offer something at the $1,000 level, you can expect that the value of it is $5,000. So that question for me is very easy. I understand that others in this industry may not, the investment to work with them may not be the same. However, in this offer, A, B, and C are included. The value here is really $5,000 for all of these things. So to be clear, this may not be a fit for you. You know, if you're truly looking for a good deal, I can tell you that this probably isn't a good fit for you, because this is really about, you know, creating this experience so that your wedding day is not only fun and you feel beautiful, but also that all of everything leading up to it is much easier. So it really depends on you and what you're looking for. I can imagine that while the other person that you're speaking to is also very talented, I can imagine that the offer that they're making does not include all of this. Is that correct? And you start to explore it, because the thing is, you have to be confident enough to stand in the value of what you're offering. So Raleigh, since you're still on, does that help? Does that help with that? So step number one is look at that offer again and make sure that it is congruent, that you feel really good with it, and that the number makes sense and it's not just an arbitrary number, that the value is at least 3 times more than what you're asking for in terms of money. So the final question that I have here comes from Carrie Roberts, who's also on. And thank you guys so much for submitting your questions prior to and also being on right now, because it's just nice to have you here. And Raleigh says it does help. Okay, very good. Happy to hear that. So Carrie's question is, how do I not come off salesy? And I mentioned it a little bit before, but let me just reiterate it now that you have all of the information for today. How you avoid being salesy is if you are speaking from your truth. So if you're always honest, it will never sound salesy. So let me just be clear. If you are embodying, if you are, who you're looking to attract, if you have walked in their shoes, meaning if you've never invested at the $1,000 level, not to say that you can't get someone to do it. Well, you can't get anyone to do anything. It's going to be their choice or not. But when you have done it yourself, the relationship you have with that request, it's truly authentic. And if you haven't yet done that, it's just going to be difficult. It's going to be a bit more challenging for you to attract someone and something that you are not in the vibration of, because like attracts like. So I hope that is a little bit more clear. And then the second part of Carrie's question is, how do I transition to the sale? So, and I hope Simmons just joined. Hi, Hope. Or maybe you were here before, but I just thought. The final question, how do I transition to the sale? So this is a really great question. I think that for a long time, most beauty professionals, it's been like, someone says, how much is it? And then you say it's this much. So I think what has really helped me and what's really beneficial is you have to engage them in their vision. So for example, I just use an example of a bride because it's one that we can all relate to. But before I ever speak to a bride about, what the investment is, I speak to her about the wedding day. I speak to her about what's important to her. I get clear on what matters to her. And then I also, from an integrity standpoint, check in with myself. And is this something that I can create? Is this something I'm excited about, to work with her? Is she exciting to me? Like if it's driven by, okay, well, the money would be good. Like for me, it's incongruent. What's congruent for me is, does this sound exciting? Am I excited about her wedding? Do I love her wedding dress? Because I've absolutely worked with so many brides who've had these like stunning wedding dresses where it was just like, oh man, this is going to be so dramatic. And she's going to walk into this amazing venue. Like, it just, the showmanship of it all was really exciting to me. So when I would transition into the offer, before I even got there, we would talk about that. Like, what will that look like? What will that feel like for her to walk into her venue or walk down the aisle and be seen, and for this whole look to come together, you know, kind of deal, before I ever talked about it. So if we were in line with that, where she was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. Oh my, that sounds amazing. I can't wait. Like, that's what it sounds like when someone is open for the invitation to work with you. They're excited. They're excited. So when you're there, now you've gotten clear on their vision. You've done your due diligence. You too are excited. And if you're not excited, then probably the offer doesn't make sense. But that's when now you're ready to transition to the offer. Great. So I'm so happy that you like what I'm saying, that this feels really good to you, that that's the direction you want to go in for your special day. So let me share with you how we can make this possible. How does that sound? And literally, that's the transition. Then they would say, oh my God, that sounds great. If they're super excited, they're going to want to hear more. If they say, oh, okay, sure. Like, if they don't sound excited, then what I can tell you is that you haven't quite yet captured the vision. So keep asking more questions, keep painting the picture so that the excitement is there. Because you know what excitement equals? Alignment. That's when they're in their heart. So that is when the offer is ready to go. Now with that, you know, I just want to be really responsible. Like, when you know that, offer things when it feels right. If it doesn't feel right, or if you're offering it just for a paycheck, then it's your choice if you want to do it or not, but just know that the motivation and the alignment is not totally congruent, because that's more fear-based. If it's about money, it's more like, well, I need to make more money, like, as opposed to, I want to do this because I'm really excited. This is exciting to me. And typically when I go from that place, you know, some people say yes, some people say no, but it always feels right. Okay, so I hope that helped. I'm just going to hang on for another minute or so. If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to comment. Raleigh says, I like that you refer to the price as an investment. Oh, God, you are a smart cookie. Thank you so much for that. You know, so I'm very careful with my words. And I learned the distinction between the word price and investment a long time ago when I started investing in myself, and I invested in a coaching program to learn about sales. So the reason that I use the word investment, and if you've ever worked with me as your coach and you say the word like price, if you ever hear me say price or rate, I'm saying it so that I can relate to you. And then I'm going to shift the conversation to say investment, because that is my terminology. So thank you so much for catching it. But the difference between a price or cost is that it feels to people like it's costing them something, like they're losing. It's a bill. With an investment, there's always a return on an investment, always, always. So if someone is making an investment to be in one of my programs, they're investing in themselves. They're investing to learn. If someone is investing in my services for their their wedding day, they're investing in having a seamless day where they look and feel their best. It is always an investment, and the return is that feeling. It's that result. So yes, I never speak to clients and say, this is my price. It's always, this is the investment. This is the investment in your growth. And if you notice, and anything that I put out there, you know, thank you for investing in you. And I'll say it to you guys today, thank you for investing the time today to learn more about yourselves and about the business that you want to have. Really smart cookie, Raleigh, huh? Okay, and then just to wrap up, Hope L. Simmons says, yes, just joined. I'll be watching the replay to catch up. Yeah, so thank you so much for being on. Let me just refresh this one more time. Hope L. Simmons says, yes, verbiage is everything. It really is. You know, words have a lot of power. Watch your definitions, you know, because it really, really makes a difference, what you manifest. So, you know, I spend a lot of time correcting myself when I say something, and I'll say, no, correction. Like I stay away from phrases like I have a problem. I say things like I have a challenge. Because a problem, it's like I need a solution, but a challenge feels different, because a challenge can also be fun and exciting. I can learn from it. I'm here to be challenged, right? A problem has like a negative connotation to me. So just things like that. And those things truly, truly help. Okay, so with that being said, thank you so much for being on. Carissa, thank you. Thank you so much. I hope that, this last hour has been really helpful and, given you a lot of things to think about. I am very excited. We're going to be doing this again next week. And since everybody who's on here today, you are in the Facebook group if you're commenting live. So I'm also going to ask you to type in the chat box and let me know what would you like to talk about next week. And I think I certainly am going to have things that I want to talk to you about, but I also want to hear, like, what's the thing that you want to hear about next. I'd like to integrate them both. So type it in the chat box. I'm literally going to be picking topics every single week, and every single week I'm going to also be asking for your questions prior to. So you'll have a chance to think about, how this particular topic is impacting your life, your business, and let's make these weekly sessions together really, really beneficial. Thank you so much for being here, for spending some time with me this week, and enjoy your Labor Day weekend. This truly has been a great summer, and I am really excited because I think that the next few months, we're going to end 2017 off really, really strong together. And I'm getting goosebumps. I'm just so happy you're here. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye.